and welcome back everyone to the video series dedicated show on MTV that is trying to do it faster than these other dorks. That's right, we're talking about The Challenge Season 40 Battle of the Eras Episode 16. We are 16 episodes in, and it feels like we have locked in the men who will be making it to the final. But before we can talk about them, let's start off where last episode left off, and that was Jenny winning against her fellow Bananas Angel Aviv and making the targets of Cory, Derek, and Jordan. So coming back to the challenge house, it's bittersweet for Jenny. You know, she gets to stay in the game, but it came at the expense of one of her good friends and fellow Bananas Angel Aviv. Now, I mentioned that Jenny had to make 3 new targets, and somebody who is not surprised to be a target. Really, none of the guys who are targets are surprised since only 4 were available to be made targets, but I'm talking about Cory. He's been made a target by Jenny earlier on in the game, and he knows that it's getting down to the nitty-gritty. He's gonna have to put in a win, either win in the daily challenge to take himself out of the running to be sent into the elimination, or win another elimination. He's been on a roll, but he knows that every man who is left in this game is a heavy hitter. I mean, Kyland is no joke. Derek is the underdog that people were sleeping on. And of course, Jordan and Johnny have resumes that speak for themselves. Speaking of Derek, he's been enjoying his time in the game. He's coming off of an incredible All-Stars 4 season, and now here he is in season 40, making it deep within the game. But he too knows that it is imperative to win, and hoping that somebody, if not himself, could win and keep himself safe. And Johnny wipes the sweat off his brow that he isn't a target, but he does have a penalty going into this week's daily challenge. And everybody is under the assumption that this is it. This will be the final men's elimination before the final. So everybody is on edge. This will be the most important daily challenge and elimination of the season for the men, if they are correct that this will be the final men's elimination, which from the preview to next week's episode, it sounds like it is. Now, speaking of the daily challenge, everybody dons their challenge gear, heads down to meet up with TJ for this week's daily challenge, which from the lead up from TJ, it sounds like they've been wanting to do this daily challenge for years, and they just haven't been in the right location until this season to pull it off. And this week's daily challenge is called Fire Plunge. This is the annual Burger King promoted, Burger King sponsored daily challenge, where everybody is going to get into this flame grilled car, have to quote-unquote hotwire it by plugging in the right cables in the right spots to light up 4 picture lights. Once you light up all 4 picture lights, then the car will be sent over the edge, and then the players will be yanked from the car, and then they have to unhook themselves and then swim to shore where their time will be stopped. The quickest man and woman to do this will win into power, win into safety. The slowest man will be going directly into the elimination, and the slowest woman will be getting a penalty in next week's daily challenge. Speaking of penalty, Johnny Bananas will have a 30-second time penalty. Now, I think aesthetically, this one was interesting at the very beginning, but I do have a question for everybody, and I would love for everybody to give their 2 cents about this daily challenge in the comment section below, as well as answer my question. Is this a puzzle? I don't know. I question whether this is a puzzle because to me, this feels like a game of luck. Like when I think of a puzzle, I think of like a math puzzle or a tangram or even a slide puzzle. There's an algorithm. There's a strategy use that if you know it, it'll make the puzzle easier. But when you look at this puzzle and you're just plugging in wires into the holes and just trying every single wire, I just don't know if that's really a puzzle or just a chance. Is there a way for somebody to figure out a strategy on whether to go from left to right is better than going right to left? Or is there a strategy in knowing and solving which wire is better to use first rather than starting from the rightmost wire or the leftmost wire or the middle wire and going out? I don't know. I felt like there was a bit more luck based to this quote unquote puzzle. Honestly, I think everything comes down to the swim anyways, which was 500 meters. Some notes on these performances: you have Jordan and Tori doing an incredible job. You have Cory and Derek moving slow on the puzzle, but Cory does an incredible job in the water. As we hear from Rachel on the shore during Cory's turn that he has been been working on his swimming every single day. So hearing that and knowing that Cory has worked on his puzzle skills, has worked on his swimming, I feel like Cory came into this season all business, really trying to work on his quote-unquote weaknesses to give him an edge, and I felt like he did an incredible job on this season being able to work individually. On the women's side, as I mentioned, Tori and Rachel seem to be the bright and shining stars. Jenny takes a little bit too long on the wire part. Michelle seems to do a really decent job. We know she does a great job at swimming as she was on Survivor previously. She's a Survivor champ. Cara, on the other hand, I think does the puzzle portion right, the car portion right, but unlike what I just said with Cory, Cara has not done too much to help out herself in the swimming department. I mean, let's be real. Her and Paulie moved down to Florida. I don't know if they're near the coast of Florida, but they moved to Florida. There is ocean all around the state. During your time away from the game between 35 and All-Stars 4 and now, I felt like you could have gotten some swimming in a little bit, you know? But unfortunately, she was the weakest swimmer, so she did end up getting a penalty heading into next week's daily challenge. Speaking of coming in last for the men, it comes down to either Kyland, who really did bad on the swimming, or Derek, who took a very long time on the puzzle, and when it came down to it, Derek got last place. He's going directly into the elimination. And on top of Derek getting last place, being sent directly into the elimination, Jordan wins. And so he gets safety alongside Tori, who wins for the women. And so with Jordan winning, taking himself off the chopping block, Derek going directly into the elimination, that leaves Cory being the last target, who has to also go directly into the elimination, going against Derek. Now, because this is a Burger King sponsored daily challenge, the winners, Jordan and Tori, not only win into power, win into safety, but they also get $5,000 thanks to Burger King, as well as there is a feast at the bar after the daily challenge happens. So they wrap up the daily challenge, they head down to the bar where we hear from Rachel that she was devastated to hear that Tori had won yet another daily challenge. Rachel, who also lives in Florida, is a very strong competitor. She wanted to win so badly to take herself off the option list of being possibly made a target, but knowing who is going into the elimination, she feels like, not only did I lose out on safety, not only did I lose out on cash, but now most likely I'm going to be set up as a target no matter who wins the elimination. And I thought this was a really nice moment because I felt like this was a very relatable response from Rachel. Because for so much of this game, Rachel had to be so reactionary because, like, in the beginning, Era 1 was just falling away so much of the time that she just had to like play defense instead of playing offense. And now we have this competitive side where she felt like she had this in the bag. You can just tell that she is ready to roll and wants to get to the final so badly. And Tori just has been dominant this entire season in daily challenges, winning yet another daily challenge and being in power, being safe. And lucky for her, she doesn't even have to make a decision on who's going into the elimination. She keeps everybody in her good graces. Talking about the final, Bananas tries to freak out Kyland as much as possible. The only person that hasn't made a final is Kyland. And Bananas wants to throw out some mental warfare to Kyland and be like, yeah, it's cool when you get there, but when you get there and you're actually in the middle of it, it is a nightmare. It's the worst thing you could ever imagine. He's trying to get into Kyland's mind. I just don't think that Kyland is even thinking about that. He is just so excited to be possibly making it to his first final and then being able to run against some of the best with Bananas and Jordan, and then either Derek or Cory. Kyland is just ready to compete. And then two other people that would love to hear TJ say, you have made it to my final, is Cory and Derek. They have this interesting conversation over Burger King in the bar, and Cory talks about how much this season's win would be, how just making it to the final, how much that would mean to him, and be able to say that to his girls, that he made it to another final, that possibly he could get his first win in season 40, and how much he has been through to make it to the final would be so incredible. And then getting his first challenge win on a season like this would be the cherry on top. We see Derek get very emotional because at the time of filming this episode and the day that they will be going in against each other in the elimination will be the anniversary of when Derek's sister unfortunately passed away. Derek gets very vulnerable back at the challenge house, where he goes through the story of when he was getting ready to go to film All Stars 2 and everything leading up to that moment and everything that happened with his sister. And hearing Derek tell this story about his sister and everything that happened in that time, it made me tear up. And I just want to give a shout out to Derek for sharing that moment on screen, sharing that moment with not only the castmates and cast members, but with us as the audience, because I thought that that was a very powerful moment. And I think it was important to say that and for us to realize that maybe we just have a friend. You know, a friend that you want to just check in on. We see some phone calls from back home. We first see Cory get a phone call, getting to talk to his kids. I was thinking, oh no, Cory's getting a phone call from back home. What does that mean? But then we see Derek also talk to his brother. And I was like, okay, they're kind of leaving it up a little bit more ambiguous about who possibly could be going home. And right before heading to the elimination, we have Jenny coming up to Derek, trying oh so hard to make sure that she is not a target going into next week's episode. She tries to bring up something that happened way early on in the season, being like, hey, remember that time I didn't send you and Cara in when Theo and I won into power and I didn't pick you? Could you not do that to me? And I love Derek, how he answers this and goes, I'm getting ready to go into the elimination. There's no way I'm agreeing not to make you a target. We haven't been rolling with each other. I'm so happy that at one point you didn't send me into the elimination, but this feels like a completely different game at this point. And I'm sorry, but I have to say your name. I have, like, there was no, like, if, ands, or buts. There was no, like, oh, well, we'll see what happens. I don't know if I'm even going to win. I'm just trying. No. Derek was like point blank, no, I'm going to say your name. In fact, I'm going to say your name first. When TJ asked me to make targets, I'm going to say, well, Jenny is number one as a target. Jenny did do him a solid earlier on in the season, but we're so close to the final. You just got to play the game how you feel like you got to play the game. And Derek has been way closer with Rachel, Cara, and Michelle that Jenny is just the odd person out at this point, that she was going to be a target no matter what. That's when Cory and Derek don their elimination gear, head down to the arena, get down in the sand with TJ for this week's elimination called Closing Time. In this elimination, the player's going to have to crank up a gate, run through it before it closes on you, grab some cinder blocks that have pictures on it, and then bring them to your platform. This is a cinder block puzzle harkening back to season 38's final, where Johnny Bananas and Nani unfortunately did that puzzle wrong. This is a smaller scale, but still these cinder blocks are heavy. The first person to stack their cinder blocks correctly and solve the puzzle on both sides will win, stay in the game, possibly have made the final. Cory's got the muscle, and trust me, he uses it. He uses his strength and tries to brute force by just grabbing 4 cinder blocks every single time. Now, Cory is just trying to move quickly. Derek knows that this isn't necessarily about moving the cinder blocks the quickest. This is about putting the puzzle together. So Derek decides to work smarter than harder. When he gets through the gate, he looks at the cinder blocks, looks at the pictures on them, rearranges them, and then will take the cinder blocks with the pictures kind of already formed on them. He doesn't jumble up all of the pictures. He's not wasting any movement, because the way Cory does it is that he is bringing all of the cinder blocks as quickly as possible to where once you move them once, then when you get to the platform and have moved all the cinder blocks, you're gonna have to move them all off the platform to then put them back up on the platform. Derek has an incredible strategy and it works to perfection. Realistically, this elimination matchup was kind of my nightmare because I was rooting both for Cory and Derek. I feel like both of them have played a great game up to this point. Both have played separate games, very different games. Derek with his social game, Cory with having to fight and survive in eliminations week after week. I would have loved to have seen both of them in the final, but when it comes down to it, in this elimination, Derek was just the better competitor. Unfortunately, Cory is eliminated, and Derek now has to make new targets. He says Jenny right off the bat. He also picks Rachel, and we see a flashback from back of the house where Cara says that she wants to be made a target. I feel like that is a very selfless move by Cara Maria by taking the brunt, by getting the target, but she also has a penalty. Maybe she felt like Derek was going to be making her a target anyways, so she just got ahead of it. But at the same time, Cara's gonna have to do so much maneuvering going into next week's daily challenge with the penalty and being a target. Hopefully we'll see Cara clutch Maria in next week's episode. But that is not all from TJ, because TJ does announce that the next time these players will see him, it will be in a different location. And you can just see Cory just get doubled over, that his heart is breaking in real time because he was this close. He was so close to be making the location change and see where the final would be taking place. It's tough. It's heartbreaking for Cory, but we started with 40 players. 31 of them are gone, and we have 9 players left, and we'll be most likely getting another one down to where it'll be 4 men and 4 women to start the final. There was a conversation foreshadowing, I think, that there will be a purge happening in the final to get down to 3 men and 3 women, but hey, we'll have to wait and see. I feel like there have been times where we've had 8 people in the final and they just ran the whole final with all of them. I don't think there has to be a purge. I thought that that was very interesting in the conversation that they were having in the bar scene, because I don't think there has always been a purge. Maybe there has been mostly purges when there's 8 people that make it to the final. I'll have to do more research into that, but season 40's final has got to be something big, something that we will be talking about for seasons to come. But I guess we're gonna have to wait and see what's gonna happen. I like this episode. This episode was fine. Again, it's one of those things where there wasn't a whole lot to go off of. With so little players left in the game, as well as no chamber, this season is just kind of progressing a little bit slower. The episodes are a little bit slower because there's not a whole lot of content to fill the episodes with. I kind of wish at a certain point we would go from 90 minutes to 60 minutes. I think the episodes would flow a little bit better, but that's just my opinion. I'm not disliking this season. I just feel like with the 90-minute episodes and with so little content after the daily challenges that we can really sink our teeth into, I feel like it feels a little bit slower than what it actually is. So I think that plays into a factor of like, man, I kind of wish this season would pick up, but we are so close. We are so close to the final. We're so close to crowning new champions. And before you know it, we'll be watching the reunion. We will be in 2025, and then what's to come after that? All-Stars 5? What's to come after that one? So let's not hope and wish for the ending of this season to come too soon, because who knows what's out there on the horizon. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But that's where this episode ends. What did you think about this episode? Let me know down in the comment section below. What did you think about the daily challenge? Can you believe that that was the challenge that they had been waiting years to do? Do you think it was years in the making, worth the wait, or do you feel like it was a little bit of a letdown? I'll be real. I think it was just kind of whatever at the end of the day. I think it was just fine. I think the spectacle of the car going off the cliff was the main catch of this whole thing. But when it comes down to it, it's just like 4 lights lighting up and then a long swim. Also, how many cars did they need? Did they use the same one over and over again? Can't be. Couldn't have been. You know, they just dumped 8 cars into that river. Did they fish them out? Hopefully they fished them out. Anyways, what do you think about the daily challenge? Let me know down in the comment section below. What do you think about the elimination? What do you think about Cory being eliminated very, very soon? And what do you think about these 4 men, Kylan, Derek, Jordan, and Bananas, possibly have made the final? Who are you rooting for? Who are you rooting against? On the women's side, who are you rooting for? And who do you think has the best chance of possibly making that final and winning? Let me know anything and everything you feel about this season, this episode, anything down in the comment section below. I now want to give a special shout out thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to everyone who's watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really, really soon with more Challenge 40 content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.